Welcome back to this long-awaited, overdue podcast of Cast It to the King. I'm your host, Joshua Mickle, and as I get this up ready to go, it's been a long while. I apologize for the delay. It's pretty much been a month, and pretty much I have now succumbed to the what's the word? I have come to the conclusion and assumption that June cannot be my month for podcasting, for the one obvious reason that we have two things to talk about for house clean before we get into our main topic of today's show. And we're going to start off with the record-breaking setting debut of yet another Access Conference 2024 at the Life Church in Memphis, Tennessee. And it was, as the lower third says on your screen, it is one of historical value. It was one of historical value of what happened a couple weeks ago with Access Conference. This conference was the first to have over 2,000 teenagers in attendance. Many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds were left unable to attend, and that's something like to see the scene of the conference as the video is playing behind me, actually, to be able to see how wall to wall it was in the auditorium and throughout the week of it being super packed. From folks being able to come from Michigan, Virginia, Arkansas. I think one group came from California. This conference used to be called Access Nation. One can argue it needs to go back to that title because of how big this is. We are essentially a nation of our own, so to speak, with how big this conference was and how big of a draw it was. Another historical thing that happened, and this is just a fun fact for you, Green Team scored last place after the first day of Tribal Wars, and they ended up being the champions of Tribal Wars. And that was something that had apparently never happened before in Tribal Wars history, for those that are watching. And Pastor Zach Van Plericom, and there's the announcement right there. The Green Team had won Tribal Wars. Something that Pastor Zach Van Plericom mentioned, that it had never happened before in its history of Tribal Warisms. Black Team once again almost came close. They are this close, apparently, for doing the ultimate three-peat of winning last year, this year, and 2 years ago. They won 2 years ago. They failed to put it together versus the Red Team for their immaculate worst to first, and now this year's immaculate worst to first with Green Team. Another historical factor. We have a new single for a worship track for the first time from an Access Conference since 2015, from the debut album of Loud and Clear from Life Church Worship that they released back in 2015. Not since 2015 had there been a song or theme dedicated around the conference, and this year it was called Overflow. And it's being dubbed under the monarch of the title from of Access Worship. This is Access Conference, and they have apparently dubbed their own Access Worship collage now. And they've, if you actually go on to my YouTube channel, actually, there's a playlist called the Life Church Classic Videos. In there, you will find some Access Conference content and also some music videos that they did for the conference that still hold up really well today. And for those that are wondering with Overflow, this isn't the first time that something like this has happened for the Axis Conference. So for them to be able to bring this back and be able to put together this track, which, by the way, as I take a sip of this delicious sweet tea, I will say when I was putting the lyrics together, the test track, I know it was like Mach 1 version of it. It was not good at all. It was not good. It sounded really bad. It did not sound good at all. And then you get the final version that's out right now online. Much better, and it's a really good listen of a track to be able to listen to it. That's another historical factor right there. And we are now approaching the territory as we begin to expand in our Nashville location in this upcoming fall season. As we begin to expand to that location and reach more younger people and the youth, the question is now going to become, how many sold out Axis conferences is it going to take for us, I might say, for us as a church, as the Life Church, to say, we can't do with this state-of-the-art auditorium that we've been hosted in since, I want to say, 2017 or 2018. We can't do it anymore. We are at capacity. We can't do it anymore. Like, the only thing that we can do logically is the following. We can no pun intended, we can have overflow and one of our two following areas they're called Discovery and Motion. Motion is where we have our youth groups, and it used to be the old auditorium before the current auditorium was built at the Collierville, Houston Levy location of the Life Church. Then you have the Discovery place called Discovery portion of the church. Those are two options. The problem you run into that is that, especially in Discovery, that's like the green room for like the youth pastors of like a green room lounge area. So you pretty much can't do that area. For the Motion, you can arguably do that area. The issue you probably run into is that, yes, you can send a live feed into that auditorium, but there will be a delay, and also you will have to deal with the turnaround of how quickly can you put away the seats and then retrofit that area for what they normally use it for basketball, all sorts of different things down there in that room. The third option is they rent out a bigger facility. And the famous thing going around is that they're going to come to a point where they have to go to the FedEx Forum. It will come to that point, supposedly, in the next 5-10 years of fun rumblings that I hear being a part of the church staff. Just rumblings, but nothing official. That would be something to deal with going forward. I mean, it's a great problem to have. It's a really, really great problem to have. And there may be something on the horizon in terms of dealing with the capacity. But what I cannot say right now is that, of what this actually is. And no, it has nothing to do with Nashville, with our Nashville location. If what I believe is going to happen with the to help alleviate the to alleviate the people that we do bring in and we're over capacity, and that's solved and fixed. I think it's ultimately going to be a short-term proposition, and then we're going to come back to this whole discussion again years down the line when that reaches over capacity. Again, I can't say what it is, because I'm under the cone of silence. I cannot say what it is, nor what could it be, because some dominoes need to fall first before I'm allowed to talk about it. But a great conference nonetheless. And fun fact, as you can see, my hair since the last time I was on, it's grown out, and so is my little sideburns are growing out a bit right now. Not my sideburns, like more so like a faded beard or something, growing out right now. Fun fact that during my treatment months is that the doctors had told me when I was telling them, like, hey, here's what I do, here's some of the events that are coming up that I would like to be a part of. They said, they essentially said no bueno for the Axis conference, that my sickness was so severe that I couldn't be around people nor attend like big event type of atmospheres. I'm glad that was quite the opposite, and that's all behind us now, because I feel energetic and on fire right now. Excuse me. When it comes to this particular topic with Axis Conference. All right. Next thing on the next item on the agenda is a movie review, and that movie review involves Inside Out 2. That just came out a few weeks ago. I finally had a chance to see it in theaters, and I adored the first movie. I actually cried in the first movie. This second movie brought me to tears to some moments. Like, it had some adult-heavy moments for a kid-friendly film, and that's what I love about Pixar. They have adult themes. It's not a kid movie. It's like their movies they put out. They're not kid movies. They are kid-friendly movies. Perfect example is the Incredibles. The main character of that first movie is a out of his prime 40-plus-year-old man that is wanting to recapture his glory days as Mr. Incredible. Inside Out 2 sees the introduction of these new emotions with anxiety, and a whole bunch of others. Envy was also pretty funny. This movie really tackled the issue, and not in a way where it might traumatize your child in a way, but this movie, by the way, this picture right here is probably one of the funniest scenes in the movie. And I mean, this is not a spoiler. This shouldn't be a spoiler. It doesn't affect the plot. It doesn't affect the plot at all. That picture right there is they're going through, they're sleeping at night. Riley is sleeping at night, and the emotions are in bed. They hear this beep. They hear the beep of some sorts. And then it's a big alarm button they're reacting to of fear and craziness. And around the button, it says puberty. And they're like, puberty! And all the emotions just going nuts of what each emotion would go through under puberty, essentially. And it was really funny. It was really funny. To get back to the movie with the new emotions, especially with anxiety, it really captures it captures that same magic that made the first movie really good. It had you laughing in the right moments. It had you feeling the feels during the right moments of this movie. And there are some serious moments where after the few parts of happiness, laughter, and then it just hits you with a ton of bricks over your head of this just got real. It's time to assess yourself, essentially, kind of feeling. That's the feeling that I got in this movie. Yeah. So, without spoiling the movie, the approach with anxiety, joy, and all the other emotions that are in this movie, They play off each other really well. Anxiety, like all the emotions that are in boredom. Boredom was pretty funny. Boredom was probably my favorite emotion outside of anger. And they do go into different, and they do actually what they did, like it. They actually did something that I thought. I mean, it didn't irk me with the first movie, but it had me wondering, why is it that the parents' emotions, like in the mother's brain, they're all women, in the father's brain, it's all men. But with Riley, you have anger that's a guy. You have different like men and women portraying the emotions in Riley's brain. And then there's a moment in the movie where like they're having like she's having like a reading off the faces with her friends, and then it goes into her friends' brains, and they're all in middle school, by the way, about to go into high school in this movie. It goes into the friends' brains, and it has the same like representation of like anger's a dude, worrisome, the purple one is a man, and the rest are girls essentially. So they play that really well. So it makes me wonder if they continue this, if they continue with a third one, like say when she turns 18, would those emotions change to fit the gender of that of Riley? Like, would we see a female anger like come about? Sort of like how in the father's brain, you have all the emotions at that table, and they're all dudes. You have the mother with all the emotions at her table, and they're all women. I mean, again, that's just a minor nitpick, but I'm glad they answered that with the other friends of like, hey, this isn't just a Riley thing. This happens with like this essentially with all the kids essentially. It definitely deals with tones that brought me back to my childhood days, and even though I didn't deal with anxiety growing up, there were moments in this movie where it's like, yeah, that right there in that movie I can relate to with this happening in my life. Like, of how they portrayed this on screen was really, really good. And I would recommend going out to see it. And we're going to break out the movie rating system. Was it a don't bother? Nice. A medium, get some a really nice medium popcorn, or get that extra large, break out the large with extra butter popcorn. I would say on this rating system for Inside Out 2, I would give this a really nice medium. I would give this a really nice medium. Like, you got your popcorn, you're going to enjoy this movie, you're going to enjoy the ride, and you're going to enjoy this movie. Like, if you see this with your little brother and sister, if you see this with your parents, if you see this with your other friends, you're going to have a splendid time at the movie theaters. And for those that live in Memphis and are watching this, they debuted at Malco these new laser projectors, and I think it's called Balco, if I'm not mistaken. The projectors in this theater, these new Balco projectors, are so much better than what was before. Because what was before, it was good. You can live with it. You don't care if you're not an avid movie fan, if you don't care about your blacks and all that sort of stuff. You don't care for much of that at all. But for an avid movie person like I am, like, you want your blackest of blacks, you want your colors to pop, and you want that picture to pop, especially in a movie theater. These new projectors, I looked at the price online. It's a hefty price. It is a really hefty price that they put into these projectors, and I spoke with someone at Malco afterwards, and they said they've been prepping this for months. And me and my wife saw Garfield back in May, and I did not see these projectors advertised on screen. This is the first time I've seen this with Inside Out 2. Really, really good rollout. Malco paid a hefty penny, a pretty penny, for these projectors, if what they told me was true, and that they rolled it out to every single screen, every single Malco in the Memphis metropolitan area, 901 area. They paid a pretty penny. And it makes me want to stay at Malco theaters and not hop around different theaters like the Hollywood or the cinema, whatever it's called around here. Not Cinema Cafe. We do not have Cinema Cafe. That would be nice if we had Cinema Cafe. Another thing, Malco, if you are watching, get a movie theater subscription plan set up like Regal, AMC, and Cinemark, and what Movie Pass is allowing me to do. Get a movie theater subscription model. You will make a lot of money. Please. I know you own a monopoly. Just please consider it at least, because you would get a lot of money. You would definitely get a lot of money, my money. But my money is going towards Movie Pass, and it's been working for me really, really well. I'm still breaking my threshold of movies every month with the Craigs that I have. All right, the main topic of this show. Outside of being a Spider-Man fan and outside of being a Marvel fan and a DC fan occasionally, I like the DC characters. I like the Dark Knight stuff. I like the Snyder cut, especially my 3-hour cut that I actually did of the movie. Great characters. I love great IP. I love great lore. Another IP, another great thing that I love to talk about is Star Wars. Now, recently, I've been playing on my computer Knights of the Old Republic 2. And it's a role-playing game in the Old Republic era. And you're dealing with Sith Lords. You're dealing with Jedi Masters. You're dealing with... It's a really, really good story. And for those that have played Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, and so I have not played the Old Republic computer game. I don't know why. I mean, just based on the gameplay, it's not my cup of tea per se. But for those that play Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, you would, they're great stories. Great stories. Star Wars has great lore. They have great lore with Sith, with Jedi, with the Force, with different planets that they have, different conflicts that they have. You have a treasure trove of books, comics, games, etc. for you to dive into as a viewer, as a fan of this content. Now, one of the best things and one of the worst things that could have happened with Star Wars is that Disney bought them. Best being, they've given us Andor, they've given us The Force Awakens, they've given us Rogue One, which is a really good spinoff. I would say it's probably the best spinoff they've ever done. And they've given us The Mandalorian. They've given us... Solo was a good movie, but it wasn't a movie that we asked for. Thus, it reflected at the box office. No one wanted to see a Han Solo movie. Say that 3 times fast. And then they proceed to give us The Last Jedi. They give us the Rise of Skywalker. They've given us Book of Boba Fett. Mandalorian season 3 was a whimper compared to how season 2 ended. You have Ahsoka. You had some good parts in that show, but it contrasted with how poorly the rest of the show was. You had the Obi-Wan series that was a movie turned into a TV show that should have been a movie, and there's a fan cut out there when the show came out. The fan essentially took all the episodes of Obi-Wan and condensed it into a 2.5-hour movie, and it works better as a movie. And they're they've had some hits and misses They've had some hits and misses. There's some some would say the Star Wars fandom is pretty much very divisive. Some say it's full of racists. Some say it's full of sexist, homophobia, whatever you want to call it, whatever isms you want to say, anti-Asian, anti-this, anti-black, anti-women, this or that. One can there are folks out there that will say that Star Wars fandom is very divisive and that it's very toxic. And the show that came ahead is the show called The Acolyte. And that's the topic of today's show. The little review that we can do, there are 2 episodes remaining in this show. But we're just going to discuss on the 6th, and it's not, barring something drastic happening in these last 2 episodes. Like if episode 8 rolls around and Darth Sidious's master, if Darth Plagueis comes out, or his master, I forget his name, if his master does the big reveal at the end of the show and oh my God, this is him, we need to know what happens next. That's not going to happen. I don't expect it to happen. I will fall over in shock if it happens. But this is just a quick review of this show. And with this show being and it says at the bottom of the lower third of the main through line of this show, even with some critics, not a majority of them, because 83% of them are Rotten Tomatoes, actually approve of the show. You have the showrunner Leslie Hetland coming off of the critically acclaimed show Russian Doll, I believe the show is called. I have not seen the show. I cannot attest to how good the show or how bad the show is. All I have is the word of mouth that the show was really, really good and folks loved it on Netflix. And if you look at Netflix's track record with TV shows, it is top line, top notch stuff that they do over at Netflix. The last show I actually watched on Netflix was actually The Last Airbender, Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's they have crazy standards for their television shows, but crap standards when it comes to their movies. So try and put 2 and 2 together if you're Netflix. But hey, it's something that it is who they are. It is who they are. They give us great shows, expect that, but don't hold your breath when it comes to their movie content. Leslie Hetland comes over from that to do The Acolyte. It was announced in 2021 by Lucasfilm's own Kathleen Kennedy. And this show, we were told, was going to be tackling dark side powers in an era we've never seen before in Star Wars, and essentially give us this point of view of the Sith, to which every single fan online that is Star Wars heaped with praise, saying, yes, this is something new. This is something we haven't seen before on live action. There have been tastes of it in the games and in the novels. Yes, this seems like a great idea. And then the show actually comes out. And we are left with something of a murder mystery, controversy of space switches. And let's get this out of the way right now. If you claim to be a Star Wars fan and are complaining about these space witches that show up in episode 3 and complain about their existence. If you claim to be a diehard Star Wars fan, first question, do you like the Clone Wars? If the answer is yes, then explain to me the Witches of Dathomir. The Witches of Dathomir and the Night Sisters. They are no different than these witches in the Acolyte. Just a point of order to get that out of the way. Episode 3, while sloppy in writing, was not too bad. The only thing that was just cringe was their ritual dance. The power of one, the power of two, the power of many. Man, it's a meme that will just live forever for all Star Wars fans to remember and mock. And then you have the quote-unquote Sith Lord. He's called the Stranger. Fellow behind me here. Called... he's been dubbed online as Smilo Ren. So that's pretty much what we've come to as a Star Wars fandom, is we're mocking the Sith Lords. What we were promised, and I'll actually talk about that in the next part of this topic. Talking on the topic of what we know and are right now. This show's writing. Forget the claims of the lesbian witch mothers that you may want to talk about. Forget about the sisters, of how cringe their characters are. Forget how predictable the Sith Lord reveal was in the show. Forget all that. This show's writing is one of the worst in Star Wars content ever. It is that bad with basic 101 writing. And it started with the first episode. It wasn't like, oh, the first 2 episodes are really good, and then what's this rough patch we just hit with the rest of the show? It started with the first line of dialogue from this sister. She has a twin sister named Osha. This is May. That's on screen right now. This is May. It started when May uttered her first lines of dialogue with Trinity from The Matrix, who appears in the show as a Jedi. And spoiler alert, she barely lasts 5 minutes in the show. Never mind the whole marketing that happened with the show, promoting her on posters. Never mind the fact that, oh my God, we're going to see this hand-to-hand combat and lightsaber stuff from Trinity? Yes, this is going to be... Oh, she's dead in 5 minutes. And by the way, another thing with the writing in the show that needs to be called out. The Star Wars Bible of logic needs to be revisited. Because in Disney Star Wars, like before Disney bought Star Wars, it used to be, if you get stabbed with a lightsaber, burning your organs, Qui-Gon Jinn style, you are dead. You are dead. D-E-A-D. Dead. You get your arm chopped off. It's going to hurt badly, but we see with prosthetics, you'll survive. Fast forward to Disney Star Wars. You can get stabbed. Darth Vader can stab the third sister in the Inquisitor's army. You can stab the lady from Rebels that got stabbed in the Ahsoka show. You can stab Kylo Ren with his lightsaber in his organs. And they still come out feeling good, not dead, just able to walk it off like it's nothing. Oh, it's just a flesh wound. Oh, it's just a flesh wound. And then May, the evil sister in the show, May, takes a knife, and kills this Jedi Master, supposedly. Kills her. And those that want to defend it can say, hey, if you look at it, she struck directly at the heart. It's hard to live when someone is killed by way of stabbing them and throwing a knife at their heart. Okay, fine. I will give you that. It's kind of hard for your heart to process when it comes to, if someone stabbed me in the heart, it's going to be tough for me to live. But when you set the rules of, hey, you have a lightsaber that's more deadlier than a knife. More deadlier than a knife. And the knife kills the Jedi, but a lightsaber can't kill a Jedi. Or a Sith. Please make up your mind of your logic, please. Please make up your mind. Another thing that happened in the show. Let me get the positives out of the way first. For the small portions that York is in the show, never mind the shirtless scene in episode 2, I think it was, at the end of episode 1 or the beginning of episode 2. Never mind that at all. That was weird. But hey, let's show off a guy's pecs. Why not? He's been working out. He's been juiced up on that horse steroids that Hugh Jackman's taking. Never mind that at all. For the small lines that York had, Daphne Keene's character, who appears as X-23 in the Logan movie, she's in the show as a Padawan to who's this? This particular Jedi, who she's a Padawan to, but this particular Jedi, and I am freezing on the name of this Jedi. That's how bad the show is. Apparently, I'm forgetting names. Star Wars Acolyte characters. No. Where are you? All right. Soul is his name. Soul is the shining light in this show. You care about him. You're interested in his story. He may have a past that is worth delving into, and that's probably what supposedly episode 7 is going to tackle, is what happened when he was rescuing those twin sisters, attempting to rescue those twin sisters in their home that was burning down on fire. What happened? Is he hiding secrets? I hope not. Or else we're gonna have a whole different conversation about this show's portrayal of Jedi and how much the show could taint the image of the Jedi and Disney's approach to Jedi, essentially. Soul in this, this is, I don't know the actor's name, but he was apparently in Squid Game on Netflix. And this is his first English-speaking role. And for this to be his first English-speaking role, he knocked it out of the park. He's knocking it out of the park. I mean, it's seamless. You would think he's been doing this for a long time, acting in English. But no, this is his first crack at speaking English. The fighting choreography in the show is also really good. And it's chef's kiss. There are moments where it's just chef's kiss between the combat that the Jedi do, and especially with Smilo Ren, with this supposed Sith Lord. That happens. They introduce a material from Legends and pull it into canon called cortosis. It's a metal where if a lightsaber blade hits this metal, it shorts out a lightsaber. And this Sith baddie is wearing, like, his helmet is cortosis ore. And it catches the Jedi by surprise. And I'm interested to see if they do any more High Republic stuff, or if they go back to Old Republic era for movies or TV shows, for them to introduce this metal even more. Now we get back to the crux of this whole thing here. There's been backlash on for the show ever since the press for this thing happened. The press for this thing has been, this is the gayest Star Wars show that you can ever make. This is going to be appealing to the LGBTQ community. This is going to appeal essentially to the far extreme people in the culture wars, supposedly. That was, it was asked during the press tour, like, is this the gayest Star Wars show? Leslie Hetland was asked on the press tour, to which she did not confirm, nor did she deny. So she gave that type of answer where it's like, hey, we have these characters that represent this, this, and that, and this, and that. But we're not denying it. Like, of course it may be the gayest Star Wars show ever. My simple opinion with stuff like this is this. And this involves the whole DEI situation happening right now in our country. When it comes to a show, a movie, a book idea, whatever the idea is, give me a story that is really good. Do not give me a story that for example, if you are having a TV show or a movie put together and you have someone of a different nationality, that's black, Asian, whatever, for the sake of being that particular nationality, you're going to fail. Because the first priority is to make a great story. It does not matter who you choose based on what they look like. What matters is, does this actor, white, black, brown, Asian, Caucasian, brown, yellow, whatever the color they may be, are they the right actor or actress to fit in this role for our story? And if the answer is yes, hire them. If it is not, go with the next best option that is available to you. So that's my situation. So that's my opinion of DEI and wokeisms in Hollywood. This show is not woke. This show's not woke. And I say that as a Trump voter. I say that as someone that can't stand Democrats sometimes and their policies and up on DC. I say that with that in my pedigree background. This particular show has bad writing, bad plot devices, bad conveniences for the sake of convenience. It's like, if it's written, it happened. Just deal with it mentality. And I don't want to live like that as a viewer watching something that I love, that I know that can be better. We were talking about the Trinity Jedi Master that got killed. Another one that was featured in all sorts of promotion, and it was heavily teased in the story. A Wookiee Jedi Master is going to be on full display in his mighty glory. And he is killed off screen. He is killed off screen. What the heck are you thinking over there at Lucasfilm? What are you thinking? You promise us something. You give us something in the promotions of, hey, here's a Wookiee. A freaking Wookiee. That we love Chewbacca. We love the Wookiees and the Knights of the Old Republic. We love the Wookiee bounty hunters. You're going to give us a Wookiee Jedi Master? Yeah, sign me up, please. Oh, never mind. He's dead off screen. We killed him off screen. Sorry. Come next week. Come in a few weeks where he might show up in a flashback. Nope. Not fooling me again. Nope, you are not going to fool me as a viewer. You've lost me as a viewer. You've lost me. You lost me. The setup for Smilo Ren, for him to be revealed as this character that we have seen in this show, as like this bumbling idiot, and the writing coming across like, hey, he could, like, he's the only person that could possibly be the Sith Lord in the show. Basic writing in Hollywood would have made this a slow burn, or would have made it more like it would have made it more of a mystery for us as a viewer to try and figure out who is this guy. One of the things I love about the Rings of Power, Lord of the Rings show on Amazon, Sauron is out there. He is out there somewhere. We don't know where he is. We have Galadriel trying to search for him, trying to lead the search party. You have this fellow that's this destined king, trying to take back his land, trying to help us fend off the dark forces of Sauron. We don't know what's going on, and we think he's back. We're trying to find out, where is this guy? Where is he hiding? We need to bring him out of the shadows. They did that setup with Sauron much better, and the reveal for Sauron of who he actually was much better than what they did with this guy right here. Was much better. Was much better. There were moments in that Rings of Power show where people thought it's this character, when shocker, wait, that's Gandalf. That is Gandalf actually. Wow, you put something, like you wrap something together, you present to the audience, and they're thinking, as they're opening this press, it's like, he's this guy. You open up, you're like, oh, he's actually someone else. This is really cool. And then there's a callback to a line that he says in the Lord of the Rings movie, when in doubt, follow your nose. Confirming he's actually Gandalf. He was actually Gandalf. The reveal in this show for, I think his name is Quirm. I swear, like, this show does Quimir? I want to say his name is Quimir, if I'm remembering this, because it's Q-I. It's not Q-U-I. I want to say his name is Quimir. The Quimir reveal was so underwhelming. And when the reveal happened, I'm like, oh, that was predictable. I knew who that was. And it just revealed how stupid and lazy these writers are of the show. And then in the show, you have this dilemma where you have the two twin sisters that look just like this lady here. This is May. She has a twin sister named Oshi. Trying to figure out, why is May killing all these Jedi? Like, why? The show is turned out to be a murder mystery show, and a badly written one at best. She goes to hunt Jedi. She has a change of thought of when she finds out that her sister's alive. She has a change of thought of, hey, I don't need to hunt Jedi anymore. I'm going to turn myself in, and I'm going to do this, and that, and I'm going to reveal the Sith Lord to them. Yeah, change my mind. I'm going to attack these Jedi now. And I'm like, I've just had it. Change of thought. And then even when Quimir is attacking you and the Jedi are protecting you, third thought crosses your mind. I'm going to still kill Saul because I blame him for what happened in episode 3. I blame him for what happened in episode 3 and killing my mothers, my family, and my home in the fire. I still blame him for all that. Jeez. This show is just... This is not Madam Web bad. This is not Catwoman bad. I need to have a list of movies and TV shows that are just dumpster fires. This is so on the cusp with 2 episodes to go. This is on the cusp of being Madam Web bad. This is on the cusp of being Madam Web bad. The only reason it is not there is because these, the second unit directors, the fighting choreography, and the actors in the show try their best. You can see they're trying their best to bring out what is a horrible script. Whereas in Madam Web, it looks like no one cared with a bad script. Another example of having a bad script, but the actors are giving it their all on screen, was Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. A horrible third act of a script. Some questionable lines written for dialogue. But the actors playing the characters that they're playing came across as reasonable of okay, that was a weird line to say, but I can see the emotion and I can see their commitment to the script. The twins in the show, when they are together, it is some of the dullest, most unimpactful, eye-rolling thing of dialogue you can hear on screen. And it pains me to listen to this. It is such torture to listen to. It's such torture to listen to. And I challenge you. I challenge anyone out there. That has seen the show and knows the story and has also seen the story movie or played the game of the last few Marvel Spider-Man games from Insomniac. Just compare and contrast between the writers of The Acolyte and the writers of Marvel Spider-Man. It is not even close. For those that want to criticize the show for saying, oh, you don't like lesbians, oh, you don't like this or that, you don't like black women in the show representation, you don't like any of this at all. No, that's not why we're hating on the show. Just look at, is that my dog? I'm sorry. Yeah, it's my dog. Someone's making a ruckus. Someone's blasting something outside. Anyways, no, that is not the reason why we don't like the show, The Acolyte. Because there is a certain something in Marvel Spider-Man, their spin-off game with Miles Morales. You have the Tinkerer character. They do a race swap and they do a gender swap with that character who was traditionally a male techie in the comics, and they actually made her a character called Finn, who was best friends with Miles, who was the antagonist of Miles in that game. And the way they weave that story together with the tragic, with her being the antagonist, and you understand her backstory, it's gravitating. You can feel it. You understand it. It's a great tragic story being told to us. You could have approached this show from an angle where you have the sisters, this bad thing happened to their mothers, and you have one going out for vengeance, and then you have one that thought the one that May, you have the one May going out for vengeance who thinks her sister Osha is dead. You have Osha out there just accepting life of, this happened, I wanted to be a Jedi, I failed, and I've accepted reality where I am just living my normal life. And then you could have had such an emotional moment where even when the show goes the way of Osha wanting to arrest her sister after May has a quasi come to Jesus moment with her sister, it's like, it's just us. Let's just go away. Let's just be us together because I still love you. I felt nothing. I felt nothing for these characters at all. I feel nothing for these characters. And supposedly Osha is being led to this temptation side to where she's going to be turned to the dark side as well. Makes the arc in the show zero sense whatsoever. 0 sense of how she gets from where she is at episode 1 to where she is now. There's no line of here's what happened to, here's a line of events that happened that led you to become this. Finn in Spider-Man Miles Morales, you find out how she became this black market tech dealer for criminals out there. You find out the tragic story that happened with her brother dying in a nuclear accident, essentially. I may be nuking that. I don't know if it was a nuclear, like an accident happened. An accident happened at this facility. She survives. He does not. She blames someone for the fall, and she's trying her best to go after said people. The motivations for May and Osha to go down their current path of what they're going on right now in the show make 0 sense whatsoever, and is lazy writing, and has left a hole in the Force that is going to divide the fan base and the studio for years to come, and it's going to leave a scar it's going to leave an ugly scar for Lucasfilm. They've already flopped with Indiana Jones 5. And again, I have still not seen that movie, but my father still professes to me that ending with Harrison Ford, with Indy, is unjustifiable, supposedly. It is so unjustifiable. And so they're coming off of that. You're going into the Acolyte. You were promised this, and this is where we're talking about, and this is where we will get into the next topic here. And that's 2 visions of the show. What we were promised versus what we actually got. The top logo right there. The top logo up here. That was the announcement. That was the announcement logo for the Acolyte. They announced it. It was a motion logo. And you see that line right there of a red lightsaber when they're describing it as a Sith-based show from the viewpoint of the Sith, tackling dark side powers. These are their words. These are their words. And we're going to take you to an era and a setting you have not seen before. Now, era, High Republic. Yes, we have not seen that on film or on television. This takes place just under 100 years before the events of The Phantom Menace, Episode 1. And I'm not going to get into the whole, did Disney break canon? Because we still have 2 more episodes to go before we can officially say Disney broke canon or not with The Acolyte and the events of The Acolyte and how they pertain to Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and the movies and the Skywalker saga. you have that first logo. You have that detailing of here's what the show is, and all of us, including me, were like, yeah, that will be awesome. That is it. That sounds awesome. Where do I sign? Yes, let me see that. And then you have the one at the bottom. Now, Marvel does this too. DC does this too. All the other movie studios do this too. They'll come out with an announcement logo, and then they'll have an updated logo later down the line. The updated logo, look at the comparison. Look at the comparison. It is night and day, super different. The first logo, you can see you have the Sith red. You have the slashing of the lightsaber through the logo. You have a font and a scruffness around the font, and this is me dissecting a logo. But in film school, you learn that with logos for particular movies, they portray a message of what the show or movie is about. For some logos, you have that Sith red, the slashing of the lightsaber. You have the roughness around the A, like it's worn. It's something that's been around for a while, and it's something that may be on the brink of collapse, or something it's at the brink of a crossroad. And then you have the bottom one. It's nice and clean. You have the O, which is a semblance of actually in episode 3 during the ritual of the twin sisters with the witches getting their supposed powers and whatnot. Oh, excuse me. So you actually see that in the skyline on the twins' home planet with that O, with the two O's of light, and they meet each other like an eclipse would in the actual in an actual sky. Just from the get-go, we have two different visions, and the one at the bottom is nowhere what we all thought as fans, what we thought we were going to get when they announced it with the top version. It's nowhere close. It's nowhere close. What we were told would have been much better than what we're getting right now. Because the assumption, and again, that's our fault as fans for setting expectations super high. But hey, you give us info and we're interpreting it. The way we are interpreting it is your line of words, Kathleen Kennedy. We are dealing with dark side powers. Point number 1. Point number 2, we are taking you to an era and a setting that has never been seen before and has never been tackled on film. The High Republic, yes, that's true. That still holds up. But you also have the second point to where we have never seen something from the Sith point of view. And it's going to be, and we were told this is at the tail end of the High Republic, and it's going to be talking about the Sith. It's going to be talking about the Sith. There may be, right now there are just whispers. We have 2 episodes left to go. With this bottom logo here, we are just getting whispers of, has a Sith returned? Are we breaking canon? Because Kayena Mundi in episode 1 said on the High Council, the Sith has been extinct for 1,000 years. These events take place less than 100 years before the Phantom Menace, and you see a younger version of him in this show, which opens that line of criticism. And what we were going to get, what we thought we were going to get, was going to be something like this, probably. It's going to be something like that. I'm going to pull it up full screen for you. Think about that. This is what we as fans thought was going to happen. This is what we as fans thought was a possibility. And what actually happened are 2 very, very, very different things. 2 very different things. We get a murder mystery with what we're getting right now. What we thought we were going to get was a bunch of Sith Lords, a bunch of acolytes, a bunch of apprentices at a Sith Academy. I'm just spitballing here of what we could have had. We could have had a teaching ground, a Sith planet, whatever it may be, from the viewpoint of the Sith. From the Sith. We have had movies and TV shows and video games, all from the, like, I shouldn't say video games because the role-playing ones, you have the option, like, you can choose to be a Sith. But, like, the mainline games, like Jedi Survivor, Fallen Jedi, and then you have some of the other content out there, like in the movies and TV show. We have never had anything from the viewpoint of the Sith. That's something we have never seen before, and it's something that made us all very, very excited for them to tackle on film, or in this case, a television show. And by the way, that is another freaking dilemma that Disney needs to answer for. These episodes are 28 minutes long. Less than 30 minutes. The budget on this show is $180 million. Where's that money going? That is wasteful spending. That is wasteful spending for 8 episodes for 30 minutes long. Do the math. 30, 1 hour, 130, 2 hours. Double that. That's 4 hours for a TV show. When the best shows out there like The Last of Us, House of the Dragon, and many others go for at least an hour long. An episode. And supposedly in Last of Us Season 2, we are going to get an hour and 45 minute long episode. Supposedly, from what's out there. Supposedly. That's the standards that Disney... This is not just a Star Wars thing, but this comes to light greatly because Star Wars is the latest victim right now. This is a Disney Plus situation, and it's really frustrating as a viewer of these shows that claim to be, oh, we want to get into the streaming stuff. Let's do what Amazon and Netflix are doing. Let's do what HBO is doing. Yes, let's do that. Let's do that. You can't even... Think about this right here. For all the money that Amazon had to give to the Tolkien Foundation to get the rights to Lord of the Rings, to be able to make the show Rings of Power, they have committed to multiple seasons. How much did the first season cost? The first season had at least, I want to say, 10 episodes. Let me go ahead and just look this up just to double check. Rings of Power episode. Season 1, right here. There were a total... You have the same amount of episodes as the Acolyte. Okay. What's the big difference here? What's the big difference? The budget for season 1 was anywhere between $100 and $150 million. Was around $150 million. By the time all the shows are out for Rings of Power, it's going to cost Amazon $1 billion. And in the first season, you see where all that money was spent. It was spent. It had purpose. You could see it on screen. Some fans may have not liked it. I'm one of the fans that actually did like it. Now you look at The Acolyte. This show cost $180 million. And unlike The Rings of Power, where their episodes are hour plus long. You have a show that's less than 30 minutes averaging. Where is this money going? This money is being wasted. If the budget is this high, you should have made it into a movie. Cut the dead stuff out. Cut the dead space out. Trim apart the cringe stuff. Trim that out. And you might have a compelling movie. But you're afraid to put out a movie because you're afraid that the fan base will revolt against you because of a bad product that you have. And that's not hyperbole. That's probably true. This show, from what we get and what we're promised, we thought we were going to get Sith Lords. Now, here's the thing with Disney Star Wars. I'll use the Derrick Henry comparison here. It is a blessing and a curse for the Titans to have Derrick Henry. And I say this with my Titan takes, is that it was a blessing to have him because he is a generational talent of a running back to have on your team, because no one else in the NFL has a guy like that. The curse side of it, the bad part of having Derrick Henry, is that you, as an opponent, know what the Tennessee Titans are going to do. They become predictable. And when they become predictable, you can't do anything for squad on offense, which is why we had to clean our hands of Derrick Henry. Thank him for his services and move on and evolve to the air raid passing game that we are supposedly running with Will Levis and Brian Callahan as his new head coach calling plays on offense. With Star Wars, it is a blessing and a curse that Disney recanonized everything after they bought it. When they bought it, they canonized the shows like the Clone Wars and Rebels at the time. They canonized the movies, and they said anything from this point forward, games, comics, books, TV shows, and movies, is all canon. Everything else that was Star Wars books related, game related in the past is going to be dubbed under our banner called Legends. And we are free to use the characters from Legends as we see fit and pull them in from different time periods if we want to into a story that can help tell our story today. The famous example of that, of how they did that, is with Grand Admiral Thrawn. They took the character of Grand Admiral Thrawn that does not appear in the main line of the movies or is even mentioned during the original trilogy. He is mentioned in the books from the fallout of the Empire after the defeat of Darth Sidious, the defeat of Emperor Palpatine. And that has been dubbed as Legends now. Well, we'll see after the end of Ahsoka, and that storyline may actually be canon now in the future. We'll see about that. That's a whole other story. But they take the character Grand Admiral Thrawn, and they turn him into a trilogy, an original trilogy character, and pull him into Rebels, which takes place just before the events of Rogue One and the first ever Star Wars movie. They pull him and they interwoven him into this story right here. You have characters of Sith Lords in the past. You have canonized Darth Bane. You have canonized Darth Sidious' master and his master before him. You have canonized the rule of two. Only master and apprentice with the Sith. But what about before the rule of two? What about before Darth Bane? There have been attempts to have these following Sith Lords in the movies, like in the background as Easter eggs to confirm their existence in the Star Wars universe. And those characters are the following. Revan and Malak. Darth Revan and Darth Malak. Revan being the Dark Lord of the Sith, and Malak being his apprentice. And down the line, Revan turns good. Sure, he's brainwashed by the Jedi, but he's turned good, and he defeats Malak, who tried to betray him and sold him out to the Jedi, essentially, and he is defeated as the Dark Lord of the Sith. You have those characters at your potential. You have Darth Malgus of Old Republic lore as well. Just the look alone of this face should scare the living daylights out of you. And so should Darth Revan if you come face to face with him. Disney has the opportunity, when they announced the show, they could have had the show take place in the Old Republic. They could have had the show but they chose to have the show take place in the middle of the High Republic, towards the end of the High Republic. They could have used a device of sorts of storytelling and they could have had new Sith Lords. But reference the teachings and the spirituality and the greatness of one Darth Revan or the Sith Lord that may still be looming today in the shadows with Darth Malgus. They could have done that. They have not. Maybe there's a reveal at the end of episode 8. I highly doubt that we're going to get Darth Revan, Malak, Malgus, Sion, Nihus, Darth Traya, or any of those Old Republic Sith Lords. I doubt we're going to get that kind of a reveal at the end of the Acolyte. But you could have had something to where you take elements of the Old Republic and you implement it in the High Republic. Why do I say that? Apparently during this whole High Republic era that Disney has set up, and that car outside sounds super close. I wonder if someone's here. You have this setup with the High Republic that Disney has created that takes place after the Old Republic era. The Sith is nowhere to be found. Now, this show, when it was announced, you have that levied in the background. You have that going on in the background. And then you have the Sith, and then you have this announcement where it's going to take place in the High Republic, and there's a Sith presence in this show. You could have done something so well where if you wanted to do a murder mystery, you could have from the viewpoint of the killers. You could have had a Sith Academy or some sort of school or planet that these acolytes study and learn the ways of the dark side from these Sith Lords at the time. It could be Darth Plagueis' master at the time, or Darth Bane. One of those Sith Lords. And then they reference the teachings of Revan, the teachings of Malak, the teachings of ex-Sith Lord of the past. Canonize them once and for all into official Star Wars lore. You could have done that, made the show more interesting. You could have done this show from the viewpoint of the Sith, where you could be hunting Jedi. Like, this show is May. The show has May, one of the twin sisters, killing Jedi. You could still have that. You can still have that in the show, but from the viewpoint where you have these Sith, you have these Acolyte. You have the Acolyte trying to please their masters. You have this Acolyte trying to please the Dark Lords of the Sith. Trying to do their bidding. Because the Sith are in the shadows right now. No one knows that they're alive. They're supposedly extinct. They haven't shown themselves in 1,000 years since the Old Republic, essentially. They have not shown themselves since the Old Republic, or they died with the Old Republic. Is the presumption with the Senate on Coruscant, the Jedi Order, and the High Council. You could have done something to where in the shadows they're killing Jedi or they're killing like their foes, and then as the Jedi being the antagonist, lurking around trying to figure out what's going on. And then you have them reveal, and then they get caught, like these acolytes get caught in the middle of, hey, like this Jedi is in front of us and we're on the verge of being exposed of our existence. He can't live. If we kill him, bring his carcass back to our masters, and then either have a scenario where the Sith Lord punishes the acolyte of saying, how dare you kill a Jedi, and bringing his carcass, disgracing our our grounds of the Sith. Or have a situation to where it's, wow, you killed a Jedi. Arise now, my apprentice, says the Sith Lord to the Acolyte. You could, like the show, the name, the Acolyte, you can look it up online. There is a book called The Acolyte of Sith Teachings. You can look it up, where it's essentially a Bible for the Sith. Essentially. You can look it up. It's a thing online. That is what the show should have been about. The Acolyte with a group of ragtag men and women or boys and girls trying to, in their cupboards of knowing nothing but dark side stuff, learning their powers, learning the ways of the old ways of the Sith and the Dark Lord, the Starforge, Malachor 5, all these are the things they could be learning. And then lurking in the background is their masters, the Sith Lord, in the shadows, waiting to reveal himself. Or not at all. But that's not what happened. This show had such great potential. When it was announced, and what it has devolved into is something where identity politics is going to get in the way of the argument of what should be the argument for the show being bad, and that is the issue of bad writing in this show. The show is bad not because of review bombing. This show is not bad because there are those that can't stand, lesbians, space witches, Night Sisters, anybody? Dathomir, anybody? Mother Tausa, anybody? No? Okay, yeah, that's just me. No, yeah, you pretend that doesn't exist in Star Wars lore that George Lucas and Dave Filoni helped establish in the Clone Wars. Never mind that at all. No, that's not the issue. The issue is that we were promised something, we didn't get it. We were promised something with such great potential, and what we actually got was something underwhelming and something that leaves us puking in our mouths. We have lines of dialogue that is on the cusp of being Madam Web bad. We have storylines and plot devices that are Madam Web, that are so close to being Madam Web bad. You have supposed payoffs so far in the show that leave you empty. You don't care about the characters in the show. You don't care where the Jedi die. You don't care if the Sith Lord dies. You don't care what happens to these sisters that you're supposed to be in touch with, that you're supposed to care about. They love each other. They're sisters. And I haven't mentioned this at all. The way they were birthed into existence should not be a controversial thing, because George Lucas introduced that whole way of being born of the Force with Anakin Skywalker not having a father not having a father at birth. The Force has already, lawyer term, precedent was set. The precedent was set where George Lucas said, Anakin didn't have a father. He was born of the Force. He was born of a virgin woman, essentially. And yes, you can draw your lines of comparison of Anakin being the Star Wars Messiah, the Star Wars Jesus Christ, if you want to, with that comparison. I kind of find it hard to do that because he turns evil and kills children. So, kind of hard to do that comparison. That is supposedly how these sisters are born. Although we don't have, like, concrete... It's suggested that's how it happened, but it's not explicitly implied of how it happened. But this show should not be... Like, the show shouldn't be ripped for what it is. This show is if it isn't already, then nothing will. If this show isn't the thing that breaks the camel's back and gets Kathleen Kennedy out the door of running that company, Lucasfilm. If this show does not do that by the time the season ends, then we're going to continue to get shows and movies like this. Forget movies. Yeah, we haven't gotten a movie since 2019. So who knows if a movie's ever going to come out anymore. They're just so focused on TV shows, Star Trek style. So, yeah, I mean, I have these talks with John Farmer, my mentor. I've had these talks with some folks that are some diehard Star Wars fans. Like, we can brainstorm a better story. We can brainstorm better dialogue. We can brainstorm better plot devices. It's sad when we can do that as fans, but those getting paid millions of dollars have no 2 cents of what's going on in this universe. They don't follow their own logic. They don't follow their own rules. And the show is subpar. It's not good. And the show could have been so good. To finally distance yourselves from the sequel trilogy, from the Skywalker era. No, it's not the Old Republic that we are all asking for real. That's what we're really asking for, is the Old Republic stuff. Sure, okay, fine. You give us the High Republic stuff, but it's far away from the Skywalker saga set of movies and TV shows. It's far away from that. You could have done something fresh, but you didn't. You tried to give us something new, and it falls flat on its face. And with 2 episodes left to go, I have no faith that this show is going to get better. I have no faith in the show that it's going to get better. There are some people that dropped out after the 5th episode, and they were let known about the 6th episode, the latest one, to which they say, "Oh yeah, you didn't miss much. You didn't miss much at all. You can just skip episode 6 like it never happened." Yeah. All right. We will close out the show today, and with that, we are going to close this out with a bang here. We are going to get in with some more reviews, and with the NFL season ramping up underway, we're going to get into some Grizzly talk with Zach Edey, the mammoth of a center, now a Memphis Grizzly. We're going to be talking about that in the future. Again, the Titans training camp is about to start up soon. Deadpool and Wolverine's around the corner. That's going to be pretty exciting. You got some other movies that I will be seeing and giving reviews on. Despicable Me 4 and A Quiet Place Day 1. Be on the lookout for those on the next show that comes out, hopefully in the next week or in 2 weeks. I promise you we are going to get these shows ramping up again, especially with the sports season of Titans and Grizzlies around the corner. And until next time, guys, my name is Joshua Mickle, and as always, keep kicking it to the king.